All right, boys and girls, welcome back to Sam's Army episode 2.220. We got a lot to talk about this week. We're going to start out with US men's national team, where we will wrap up the Canada quarterfinal and preview games to come. Weekly what if, relegation related. Headlines, we got big transfer moves for some big American names, also NBA and Juventus. Round the world, we got MLS hit it and quit it minute, and I Kardashian update, of course. And stoppage time with Ivan Toney's best bets and everyone's favorite segment, GOAWs. Now it is time to welcome in this week's distinguished panel of beauty, starting with the MLS Minuteman himself, Tyler Terrens. We're going to go off the beaten path here with your intro question. Not quite as off the beaten path as how many bomb pops you can fit in your mouth, which is what Mitch caught a couple weeks ago. We're not going to go that far off the beaten path, but here's your question. I think it's a good one to learn a lot about somebody in a short amount of time. So, what is your favorite book that you've ever read?
Ooh. I would say it's in the Grisham family. I'm a big John Grisham guy. I would say either The Pelican Brief or Camino Island.
Interesting. Okay.
I just and real bookworms are gonna kill me for this. And liking John Grisham is sort of like liking Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And I'm fully aware of that. But like at the same time, fuck you, and I don't care, because I want to be captivated and enthralled when I'm reading a book, and I don't want to put it down, and that's what I get out of my boy Johnny. So yeah.
Okay, listen, don't feel defensive about it. Just
you were about to give me shit for it before I got.
I was thinking about it. So I think you came out with a good defense as a better offense strategy. I can go along with that. But I was wondering if you're going to go nonfiction, fiction. Yeah, okay, I think we learned a little bit about you there. Not in a bad way. Not in a bad way. Next up, Mikey Podcast, who is back from hobnobbing with the expensive people in the Hamptons this weekend. But what I want to know from you, sir, is what made you suddenly and belatedly start The Leftovers on HBO, and what did you think of it?
So I just started last night, and I watched a cool 7 episodes. Sunday is my day to sit back and watch a bunch of shit that I haven't seen before, and I've occasionally been. So somebody made a list. Shout out Tyler from Barstool, Trill Withers. He was a guest on this program once after the MLS Cup final. That episode should be burned.
Shout out Trilly. We talked for like 3 hours.
Shout out the drunkest podcast about nothing. He did a tier of HBO shows, and I have been watching the ones that he rates highly that I have not seen yet. So I heard a lot of chatter about The Leftovers, did a search on Twitter to see what my followers said, and I have dove in head first. And let me tell you, I did not know what I was getting myself into. I had nightmares last night. So let's keep it going.
I figured that might be a show that you
is freaking me out, man.
Yeah, that would twist your brain into like all
freaking
sorts
me
of
out.
different directions. All right. Tweedle number 2 joining us before hopping on a players union call. So obviously he is a very important man. Tommy McGunner of FC Tulsa. Shout out to me for getting the name right this time. We got to talk about the Will Grigg is on fire clip from this weekend, Tommy. So give us the quick and dirty backstory, and importantly, we need a letter grade from you for your dance performance.
Oh shit. So the backstory actually was like the week after or 2 weeks after I got here. Some of the guys on the team were like, we need to have a song for after we win to kind of celebrate it for a couple minutes, come together, and then move on, kind of thing. And we did a poll. We did a process of 2 polls, and it came down to Freed from Desire, not Will Griggs is on fire. Or is that the same song?
They're the same song.
Oh, okay.
I mean, somebody, I think it was Wales or whoever commandeered it for,
Yeah. And then dance grade, I'd give myself an F for sure. I'm nowhere close to the top.
You've had better. It's okay. It was impromptu.
No, I don't think I've had better. I'm just out of tune, out of touch, all of that.
It was tough too because you were right in the middle of the frame, so it's like it was
Yeah,
always
last week's was better because it was a bigger locker room and I was out of screen. So last week's performance was much better.
smart. You just keep that in mind. You find out where the videographer is and
Yeah, I know my
plan
role.
accordingly. All right, so there we go. There's our distinguished panel of beauties. It is now time to turn to the U.S. men's national team, starting with Sunday's quarterfinal, in which we eked out a win on penalties after the game finished 2-2 after 120 minutes. So the game, frankly, if we're just being honest with ourselves here, was a bit of a dud for a lot of it, especially the first half, I would say. We were clearly in control of the game for most of it anyway, but we struggled to create chances pretty much throughout. The game mercifully came to life in the 88th minute when Brandon Vasquez, who was finally inserted late in the game, scored and seemingly to give us a late win. But then Miles Robinson unfortunately gave away an incredibly weak, but what I would argue is probably correct pen. 3 minutes into stoppage time, Canada scored that and sent us into extra time. So Canada played a bit better in the final 30 minutes there. They scored in the 109th after I think it was a giveaway from Brian Reynolds. But we then tied it up 5 minutes later on an own goal. And then Matthew Jebediah Turner did what he does and told Canada to take a hike in the shootout. Okay, so deep breath. We are now through to the semifinals. But Tyler, let's start with you. What stands out about that game?
I'm going to level with everyone here. So I was at a concert Sunday night, impromptu, back in New Jersey. I came back a little banged up. So I was seeing a few different Matt Turners on the screen. From what I do remember and from what I was able to make out, yeah, good way to battle, way to grind it out. Yeah, no, I was concerned after the Schaffelberg goal for sure, but that Canada team is trash, and we weren't much better. To be fair, it was a bad soccer game. That game did not need extra time or penalties. It just needed to be done. But I don't know, the fact that I was pleased at times with the midfield. I thought that Buzio, the guys were being brave after the Schaffelberg goal, right? Which is what you wanted to see, and it opened up a little bit. But I don't know, that was a tough game to watch.
Yeah, if I agree with you, but then it took us 109 minutes to open up a little bit and become a little braver. That's not a good sign. Tommy,
our boys Zendejas with another dazzling performance.
Man, we're gonna get to risers and fallers. He just cannot get it together with this group. But Tommy, what stands out to you about that game?
Just the ending of regulation, extra time, and penalties.
Yeah, that was the only thing worth watching. Took 88 minutes to get there.
To credit to Canada, they executed their game plan pretty well. I think it was very clear that they were trying to frustrate the US, make it really hard to score, get a late goal, or go into extra time or PKs, and that's exactly what happened. But I think a lot of people come away disappointed about it, but there's going to be games like that in knockout tournaments that are just very hard to win, and you have to come away winning those at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think I said it on Instagram. It was different competition, different squads, very different performance, but ultimately, the same result where a win is a win, and that's really all that matters. The things that stood out to me were Zendejas. Again, as Tyler said, something is not clicking with him in this group. We talked about it last week. Maybe it's just he needs to be surrounded by guys he's either A, more comfortable with, or B, are just sort of at a higher level, and then he raises his level, because whatever's going on right now, maybe that's charitable, as Tyler gives me the stink eye on that. But I see him play for Club America, and I'm like, okay, this guy can play. And these games that we've been seeing him the last 2 weeks, it's just what's going on with this? On the other hand, Brandon Vasquez and Jesus Ferreira when he got pushed back into the midfield, or kind of into the midfield. I love that. They look good. We talked about this last week, and I said that that's what we needed to do. I'm not that smart, but I don't know why it took that long to try something new and try that out. I guess Callaghan deserves some credit for finally trying it. I don't know why it took so long to do that. I also don't know why it took so long to get Vasquez in the game. And this was a game where I think I saw a stat. We had 42 crosses, and
I think that stat's slightly misleading.
Well, is it? Well, either
So
let's
a
just
lot
say
of
it's
cross.
30. Yeah, let's say it's 30. We're crossing to 5'8" Jesus Ferreira. That's what we're doing. That's our strategy. I mean, that's a game that's just crying out for a Brandon Vasquez, big, strong striker to go up there and deal with those. So I didn't quite get that. I thought James Sands, if we're getting to the guys who stood out for good and bad reasons, and Zendejas obviously not for great reasons. I thought James Sands just continues to be incredibly solid in the middle of the field. Obviously he's not like, he doesn't do anything flashy, but he's just been breaking up play left and right. He's not doing much in terms of sort of getting play going forward, but man, he's there disrupting everything. Busio had a good game. I thought his final product was not there in that game, but he was creative. He was dangerous. He put himself in dangerous spots. I was impressed by that. Obviously, the finishing, we need to work on that, but he did. I think he hit one of the penalties, and I think it was a really good one. So got to give him a shout there. Anybody else stand out? I mean, Matthew Turner obviously is just, solidifying, as if there was any question who GK1 is. I mean, he's just sort of putting that, any questions to bed on that. Anybody that stands out in terms of good or bad, Mikey, Tyler, or Tommy?
I got one. DeJuan Jones.
Yeah.
I think he was very solid defensively, which is probably what you'd expect from him. But then when you talk about crossing, putting like two of the more dangerous crosses all game on his weak foot. So
that ball to Vasquez. That
Yeah, that ball was very, very good.
Agreed. I like, suddenly we have him, Jones, and then we also have Token, who I thought has actually played pretty well in the games he's played. And he actually played tougher competition, at least before this game, than Jones had. So they're both actually playing quite well in this tournament, which is good to see. It's a position we obviously could use some solidity on. Anything else? Anybody else stands out? No.
Were both center back substitutions just substitutions, or were there injuries?
In terms of as far as that or injury?
I know Robinson's was planned because he was only cleared to play 90. Jalen Neal, I am not sure.
I think that was just a substitution.
Yeah, something about that could have been planned on minutes with the way like his knees were wrapped up. I don't know.
Yeah, what do you guys think?
It's just bizarre. It's bizarre to see both center backs subbed off like that, obviously. So I was just I don't think I was home in time for the substitution, but
yeah, I mean, Miazga and Aaron Long came in late. But the Jalen Neal had an interesting game. Like, first of all, he's 19 years old. So let's keep that in mind. I thought he's looked pretty solid all tournament. This game, he had a couple passes that were, a little dicey. And you don't want to see just weak giveaways like that.
Can I ask a stupid question?
Maybe.
Like, the fact that Jalen Neal, Jason Russell-Rowe, and like literally non-existent national team fixtures are playing in a knockout round. Like, I was trying to explain it to my little sister. She was like, I don't understand. Why is this the B team / C team? She was like, is Nations League more important? And I was like, I don't know. Like, not really. Then she was like, but why wouldn't they at least take like half of the 18? I was like, well, they got to give them a rest. They're on holiday, whatever. These guys are informed. But like, when did this happen? That like, is it just because Nations League now exists that like we have to split this up like this? Like, I still think that there are plenty of guys that are with the first team that still need minutes and still need to prove themselves.
I think that's
And
fair.
Jalen Neal's getting big starts in a knockout round game.
I think the logic on that for him and Cade Cowell, they're both at the 20s World Cup, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some sort of like overarching kind of plan for the pathway to the first team for the youth national teams, saying we're going to take some of our top performers after the U20 World Cup to the Gold Cup. That's the way I could see it happen.
Get it, but like, you don't get too many of these. Like, these are really invaluable experiences, and I get it. Maybe it would look different if Greg was in charge right now and there was going to be consistency with this. But because it's BJ, is it just throwaway? Is that what it is? Not throwaway. I understand Tommy's point, but like, again, this goes back to what we talked about weeks ago. This feels like to a certain extent, we might still end up winning this thing, but if it's ugly or whatever, like, it just feels like a wasted window for guys who are going to be involved in 2026 who are not getting minutes because they're with the first team.
Yeah.
And because they play in Europe and because you don't want to wear them down. Like, this is your life. You're a professional footballer. You play during the summer with your national team. Like, I don't know.
I agree. I mean, especially if you didn't play in Nations League, somebody like Mark McKenzie or Eric Palmer Brown, these guys who are in Europe, but they would have had a break after their season. Obviously, I know that why they had the A team play Nations League, because then you give them a break and then they go back to their team, because European teams are basically starting preseason now. So the timing makes sense. If you're going to have the A team play one of the tournaments, Nations League makes more sense than Gold Cup. I don't know why, not that Jalen Neal has played poorly, and I do think he has a high ceiling.
It's nothing against him, but he's not like,
I personally would rather, on this topic, let's say whoever's in Europe doesn't make the Nations League roster, if you have a full available selection, right? I think I would rather, especially for these young guys, go to a full preseason with their club teams and consistently kill it at the club level, and then have a better chance of breaking into that top team when it comes to international windows than them coming to this tournament, playing a full month, getting abbreviated preseason, and then having to go play a 10 or 11 month season.
Yeah.
Fair, but can I ask a question? Can I follow up with that and say maybe like instead of Jalen Neal and Cade Cowell, like, there are better, more competitive options and guys who are more experienced with the national team and at that level to go with. And I get that you want to get them experience, but like, at the same time, if we're looking at the center back position and you're looking at wingers and strikers, it's going to be a long time before either one of them breaks in. And not for nothing, like, Cade Cowell is still like, he's still got a long way in terms of finished product if he's going to play that position, because we got plenty of guys who can get all the way up until the final third and then not do anything with it. We got a plethora of those.
Yeah, this game against Canada was like quintessential Cade Cowell. Like, he is dangerous but unpolished. Like, he's an athlete. He is fast. He can dribble by guys or just dribble through them, which he did numerous times. But man, that finish, that last pass or shot, whatever it is, he's got a lot to work on there. I agree with you. I don't know. There's other guys we could talk about, like Georgi Mihailovic. I thought he's had a great tournament. I didn't think he was nearly as influential in this game as he has been in other games. Why that is, I'm not exactly sure. Who else? We mentioned Busio. Gressel was, he the guy puts in an incredible cross. I mean, like, let's give him that. I saw it was kind of a controversial. I saw some people giving him a lot of credit, saw some other people, sort of getting on him. He doesn't do enough, other stuff. I don't know. I mean, like, if he's going to basically not Jalen Neal, but Jones, he took his performance to the next level with those crosses that were, basically created goals. So, if Gressel's had got on, or somebody had gotten on the end of Gressel's, then he probably would be talked about the same way that Jones is. Yeah, I mean, last thing on this game, we got to talk about, and this is something that I think we need to do going forward with the podcast, is let's give a letter grade to the coach for this game. We have to not BJ Callaghan for the whole Gold Cup and the Nations League and all that. Just this game against Canada, give him a letter grade. I'll start. I I think he's had good games. I think he's made some good substitutions in certain games. He's made some good calls in terms of personnel and who should start. I thought he had a bad game. I don't understand why Jesus Ferreira. Number one, I was saying Vasquez should start, so I've sort of been on record about that. But waiting until 70 something minutes to get Vasquez in there in a game that was going this way, when we're having crosses coming in from both sides, left and right, like we just needed Vasquez on there. And as soon as he got on there, the team looked absolutely different. And Ferreira, to his credit, he stepped back from the sort of a lone striker role, and he was dangerous. He was creative. So I gotta dock BJ Callaghan for almost specifically for that. And I'm gonna give him like a C minus. I don't know if I said that before, but C minus from me for BJ Callaghan in this game. What do you guys think? Harsh?
I'm going to say C. I think anytime you advance, you can't be that close to D territory. Didn't do much to help us advance, didn't do much to put us behind. So C, anonymous, other than the Vasquez substitution, which, by the way, is the most discussed thing on Twitter week in and week out by U.S. men's national team stands like you guys, is why it takes so long to put Vasquez on. I think there's got to be a larger conversation about that. So I'm going to say C, just because everyone gets to bitch about the same things that they have been, and he still advanced.
Okay. Sounds like somebody who got a D or two in his high school / college career.
Yeah, this certainly wasn't D territory. He showed up. He was there.
Hey, Tyler?
I was not going to be that harsh. I was going to give him like a B minus or a B. Because I'm thinking about the tools that he's got to work with. I'm thinking about the fact that, yeah, was it late putting on Vasquez? Sure, but like he put him on and he scored a goal almost immediately. And if it wasn't for the penalty, like BJ looks like a genius. He put him on, he scores, and they win 1-0 in regulation. Like, I don't know. Like, that's sometimes unfortunately how it goes. The problem is with the is it too late or not? And the answer is yes. Then my mind goes to like, okay, what does he look like in training? And there's a strong possibility that he just like can't score in training and that he's not training well, or maybe he has a bad attitude. There's got to be something. There's got to be something else going on. It's not just as simple as that, because if all of us are saying, well, why isn't this happening earlier? Then there's a deeper meaning behind it. Yeah. And if that's the case, then BJ might have managed it perfectly.
Wow, look at you. We got a BJ apologist over here.
The problem is all of my former college teammates, they are so far deep on the BJ Callaghan trip. Like, they want him to be the coach in 2026. They're like, this is our fucking guy. Like, why are we just straying away from this guy? It's mostly in facetious nature, but like at the same time, I think that there are some of them who are serious. And it certainly got me asking questions.
Oh my God.
Guy can't lose. Cannot lose.
Can't lose. I mean, that's true, but he had the strongest team that we've ever probably seen in a USA jersey for that Nations League.
Yeah, and he beat Mexico, and then we pumped Canada.
Yeah, listen, I love it. I loved it. I hope we do it again. But I'm just saying, let's pump the brakes. We had Brad Evans on, and he was talking about like, listen, it's easy to get, not easy, and he deserves credit. Brad Evans was giving, BJ Callaghan his flowers, but he's also saying like, if you look at his resume, there's nothing there to suggest that
of course not. But my next question would be, how long until he gets an offer from the Qatari Premier League?
That's true. Fair enough. Did we ever hear where what's his name? Anthony
Hudson?
Where did he go?
I think it's in Qatar, Saudi Arabia.
Okay. I heard Middle East, but is it still like under wraps? That's weird.
No, it's public.
Okay. All right. So last question. Well, actually two more. So the 11 for the Panama game on Wednesday. Tommy, do you got any thoughts on who you would or would not like to see in the 11, specifically center backs and perhaps, wingers?
No, I think probably because it's such a short turnaround, you'll see more of Miazga and Long, probably against a more physical team. And then out wide,
Anybody but Zendejas.
No, I've played with him for youth national teams. With him, sorry. I'm a big fan of like his work ethic, what he can do with the ball, the way he can combine. I think part of it was like him and Georgie both want to be those guys to facilitate and combine. And when you put them together, like they kind of get into each other's spaces. And I think Sendejas is better on the right, cutting in on his left to do that. So it's like you kind of limit his strength. So I could see him going out to the right, but I think part of it's like in these positions, you just need fresh legs on this quick turnaround. So I could definitely see some changes to just the guys that came on or didn't play as much in the last game, just because
Jordan Morris would probably have some success in this game.
Yeah, you have to play in Cincinnati, game that goes till what 11:30, and then you have to play Wednesday in San Diego. Like that's pretty killer travel wise.
Yeah, that's
So
not
I
great.
can see taking that into account.
This would be a perfect game for Aiden Morris. By the way, it's a shame that he's not with the group.
Also, Vasquez, after scoring a late winner, now gets to play in his hometown. I think that's written in the stars somewhere.
Start him. Absolutely.
Has his penalty landed?
It's gonna land in San Diego.
That was one where you knew as he was running up, it was going up. Like you saw him leaning back when he took his second step.
Yeah.
I couldn't see much coming back from my exploits at the Stone Pony in New Jersey, but I could see that.
Yeah, that was one of the as the game wore on, and we'll get into this. There was some Malort came out, and so things got extremely fuzzy for your boy at the end as well. But you're right, he didn't look confident.
You were voluntarily drinking Malort.
It was not voluntary. It was absolutely, and Malort is very rarely voluntary.
Masochist.
Very rarely. Yeah, I mean, you're right in terms of switching it up a little bit. Maybe get first of all, Vasquez has to start if he came on late. Maybe Cowell, he came on late as well. If we're gonna sort of rotate, get him on there from the start. Jordan Morris is obviously a possibility. So is Christian Roldan, and I know those two names. People, the Greg haters and MLS anti-MLS snobs will be sort of cringing at the thought of it, but I thought Roldan's actually had a good tournament. Okay, last question.
Always plays well, by the way, when he's in the national team.
Who was that? Roldan?
Roldan quite often plays well in the national
lately.
team.
He's a good soccer player.
I believe that. I like watching him play.
Anybody who doesn't think that, I think, is a moron.
When I watch him with the Seattle Sounders, I'm going to sound like a broken record. I watch him with the Sounders. I'm like, God damn, this guy's good. And then he's come for the national.
There's a reason he has a very full trophy cabinet.
Yeah, that's fair. And if you talk to like a lot of MLS guys, which I'm sure Tyler obviously does, they all hold him in high regard.
Rave about him.
Yes, seems like a good locker room guy as well. Okay, last question. This time for real. On the other side of the bracket, we got Jamaica and Mexico. Which team would you guys rather face?
Mexico. I want to break their spirit.
I think Jamaica's a better side. So to beat this United States team, Jamaica has the makeup with experience and a deliberate style against the run of play. So I would like to beat Mexico again. Thank you.
Okay, 2 votes for Mexico. Tommy, you gonna make it 3?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, you can't beat US Mexico in a final in the Rose. Is it going to be in the Rose Bowl?
That would be bad.
Like,
well, we're gonna get unless it's in Cincinnati or Columbus.
I know it's in LA.
Okay, well, yeah, they're gonna.
It's an away game regardless.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I mean, so was Vegas for the Nations League, and
Vegas is different though.
True. Okay, we will move on. So we play Wednesday is the semifinal, and is it Saturday or Sunday for the final? I'm not actually sure. Let me check. Okay, so it is on Sunday, the final, in which US Panama winner will play Jamaica Mexico winner. It'll be 6:30 Central Time on Sunday. The game will be played at SoFi Stadium. So as we said, that will be very much an away game if we are playing Mexico. Now let's move on. Weekly what if time. If you, Mikey, you're going to go first here. If you could snap your fingers and have one club in the world relegated tomorrow, who would it be?
Oh man, I know that you want my answer to be Spurs, but I have a way, way, way funnier pick than that. It's United. It has to be United. It would cause an economic free fall, the likes of which we've never seen. People would start to be like, wait a second, Manchester's actually a shitty place to live. And people would start leaving. The mystique would be gone. I think it might end the club. Tottenham goes down and it'd be like, hey, at least we sold Harry Kane. And now we have a rebuild underway. Finally, it's better than running it back. United goes down, it would be complete fucking chaos.
That's exactly the answer I was looking for, because the easy answer in this situation is to just pick your rival, right?
Yeah.
And just kick it. But first of all, would you really want, like, as a Liverpool fan, Tyler, I feel like we've talked about this before, and you basically said Everton is,
I know his
like,
answer about this question.
They're not even a rival anymore. But would you want Everton out of the Premier League?
Yeah, he does.
No, I don't care. They're irrelevant.
Irrelevant.
But United's a good shout. I mean, like, City getting relegated, for the points that they should get deducted for all the bullshit that they've taken part in over the years. Like, I would love to see them get relegated and then, like, put up 125 points in the championship.
That's a good answer. I like that answer. That was one that crossed my mind as well.
Because that's realistic in some universe where people are held accountable for their actions.
That is a possibility. We'll get to Juventus getting held accountable, sort of, for their actions in a little bit. Tommy, anybody come to mind?
Yeah, it was my first thought, and along the same lines would be Barcelona.
Just chaos, like a club, potentially.
I feel if you
pull the final lever,
you want chaos in this situation, and I think that would be pure chaos.
That would be chaos.
If it happened right now, like, yeah, I think that one would be the most.
Would it be more chaos than Bayern?
Yeah, because their financials are just so screwed. And I think Bundesliga 2 is more financially stable than La Liga 2.
Naturally.
Yeah. I mean, and so is Bayern's financials by, a million miles.
Yeah.
Okay. Good answers all. I would lean City. I think that would just be incredible. And perhaps they deserve it. I don't know. I'm not the judge or the jury.
Win the treble and then get relegated.
I'm not the judge or the jury on this one.
Quite literally all or nothing.
All right. Good answers, boys. Let's go to the headlines segment of this week's episode. So we're going to start with U.S. men's national team transfers, and there have been a flurry of them lately. So, Tim Weah to Juventus is official at this point. There's a number of deals that are sort of people are waiting on, Dest and some other ones. But the other ones that are official, and this ones are new, Brendan Aaronson is beginning sent on loan from Leeds, United States of America, to Union Berlin in the Bundesliga. And then, of course, the biggest one, Christian Pulisic, our long national nightmare is over. He is out of the dumpster fire that is Chelsea, and he is moving on to AC Milan. And that one is a very interesting one. We talked about it briefly last week with Tyler and I, but let's get into it again. Let's start with that one, because I think there's a lot of questions here about, first of all, the relief was palpable from me, and I think a lot of people, the fact he's gone from Chelsea, right? I mean, I think it's good for Chelsea. I think it's good for him. I think it's good for fans. I think it's good for Chelsea fans. I think it's good for it's good for Serie A, for sure. I think it's just a win-win-win-win-win type situation. But then you think about it a little bit more. And you like, we know Christian Pulisic tends to play most of his time, at least with the national team, as a left winger. And lo and behold, who does AC Milan have? One of the best left wingers in the game in Rafeal Leao. So thinking about this a little more, obviously, it raises some questions. How is he going to fit in? I've seen some stories suggesting that Milan see him as a 10. I know that he has played, first of all, he's right-footed. He's played plenty of, minutes on the right as a winger. What do you guys think? I don't know who wants to. Mikey, go for it. What do you think?
I think any side that's playing Brahim Diaz and relying on his ability prominently in the Champions League could use Christian Pulisic. That right wing, right 10, type of hybrid position they play, because they do let Leao do whatever he wants. So to make up for that, they need somebody who wants the ball and wants to float around on that right-hand side. I think Pulisic's going to play a lot of that. I don't know. I'm excited for him to play against another league. We've seen him play well against German competition. We've seen him in spurts against English. Now we're getting to see him play against Italian. So that's great, obviously, for experience purposes. And I think he'll play. I think he'll get a lot of Scudetto minutes and very few Champions League minutes, but I think he's going to play a lot.
Tyler?
Good club.
You said very few Champions League?
I think he's going to predominantly sit in the Champions League, and they're going to go with a little bit more of a trusted lineup, and he's going to get a lot of those minutes in league play. That's my thought about him.
Yeah, kind of like the opposite of what went down at
because they played really well in the Champions League with a side that's predominantly coming back.
And he played on the contrary, he played really well in the Champions League for Chelsea.
Yeah. So I mean, my initial thoughts with this are just sort of overarching and like not a surprise to anybody, but like, is he going to be able to stay healthy, and is he going to be able to play consistent football? Because when we saw him during Project Restart, he was one of the best players in the Premier League for, a solid like 3 months. And that's when he's healthy and when he's at his best. And like, we just haven't seen anything close to that in 3 years now. So like, yeah, whether he's playing in the Scudetto or whether he's playing in Champions League, it's out on the right or it's in the 10. I just want to see him stay healthy and see if he can consistently contribute for a team that's going to contend for a title and going to contend for knockout rounds of Champions League, which is all you ever want to see from him. But like, I don't know, man. I fear for somebody like him switching to a different league and how much time it's going to take. And that's a difficult place to play in Milan in terms of the fan base and the press and everything like that. So I hope that he can assimilate quicker than it typically takes the average player, is what I'll have to say about that. But yeah, I just want to see him play consistent, healthy football. That's all.
Yeah.
I don't care what position it's at.
People forget, or they willfully ignore, the fact that when Pulisic plays, he is productive. Like for Chelsea, he's productive. He plays, he scores, he assists, he does things. It's when he doesn't play for whatever reason, whether it's health related or, his coach is a fucking terrorist. Like that's not good. And obviously he doesn't produce then, but when he's on the field, the guy produces. Tommy, what are your thoughts on Pulisic to Milan?
Yeah, I like it. I think everyone's kind of nailed it on the head. I think he just needs a reset. Get away from like coaches, players, leagues that you've played in already, and maybe like change the scenery. Maybe some sun will help the injuries up in Milan. Maybe the sweet life in Italy. Couple of bottles of wine a night, that'll do the trick for whatever injury you got. But yeah, I'm excited to see that, whether it's like Leao, Giroud, or whoever up top, and Pulisic, or some variation of that. I think it'll be really exciting to watch, and those two together on the field together are very dynamic.
I like it. I'm with you guys. I'm excited about it. I do think there is that risk of, if he doesn't acclimate quickly and the fan base turns on him for whatever reason, I mean, that's going to be a real tough place with their fans. But hopefully, I mean, listen, the guy, if he plays, he produces, and I hope that he hits the ground running, since patience is, it's not an art. So it's not a lost art, but man, there is very little of it going around these days. Other moves we got. I forgot to mention Ricardo Pepi to PSV is official as well. So of the Weah to Juventus, Aaronson to Union Berlin, and Pepi to PSV, or any of the other moves, anything? Which one is your I don't know, favorite, Tyler?
I think it's a tie between Pepi to PSV and Weah to Juventus.
Really?
Probably Weah go. I mean, the Pulisic thing, like that's going to grab every headline. Like that technically is like the most interesting, and like it's going to have the biggest impact on, I think, the U.S. men's national team for the however many years. But with Weah and Pepi, like those are clear jumps. Like Pulisic's making a lateral move, and he just needs a reset. Like Weah performed really well on the Ligue 1 side, and now he's going to be playing with like a top Italian side. Ricardo Pepi goes to the Netherlands and, you know, had a bad experience in the Bundesliga and now is jumping up to one of the better teams in the Netherlands. Like, those are clear steps up. And it would be really cool to see them make one more jump. And, you know, whatever that looks like for Weah, I'm not, maybe to the Premier League. And then for, you know, Pepi, whether it's to Ajax or whether it's to a big, you know, top 5 European club. So I think that those are clear indicators that they are on an upward trajectory right now, especially for Pepi coming off of what he did, and how difficult this road has been for the past couple of years, not only missing out on the World Cup, but his experience at Augsburg and everything of the like.
I got 2 notes for you, Sam, quickly, if I could too. One, this is an important batch of moves, I think, this summer and next. Having the young team that are all 20 years old and next men up at big clubs is something that the United States has had before, not to this extent, mind you, but kicking it into gear, becoming a cemented starter and actually contributing to these sides. Some of these guys haven't found the right home for that yet. So this is an important move. Guys can't be wasting moves ahead of this 26 window. So you expect something like Pulisic to Milan to stick till arguably the World Cup. So these are important to look at. And the second thing, I'd be so remiss to not mention how fucking terrified I am of Allegri ruining whatever Tim Weah has going for us right now. The free-flowing open play that he has, that flair to him. I've seen Allegri choke the life out of some players before. I've seen him make guys wingbacks. If Weah is rotating time with Kostic on the left wingback position, I'm gonna fucking kill myself, basically, is what I'm saying.
But what if he becomes a defensive guru, Tim Weah, and he just and he just helps us lock teams down in the national, and then when he plays for Greg, and then it's just like he's like a fucking bat out of hell, and he's like, you know, this is the greatest, and he thinks Greg is like the greatest, most offensive,
like a substitute teacher. Yeah, no, I can see that philosophy. Him balling out for the national team because it feels like he doesn't have shackles on. That could be nice. But yeah, I think a lot of people, and if there's American fans who just watch American players and have maybe not become Juventus watchers in the past, just a warning, it's brutal to watch.
It can be dire.
They are not fun.
And I think that's a fair assessment of the risk with Weah to Juve, which, if they're in terms of these moves, I mean, Pulisic to Milan has risk just because, you know, he's had trouble getting on the field, mostly health related, and if he doesn't get out there, then, you know, things could go south just because of Milan's fan base. You know, we know that. Brendan Aaronson to Berlin is one that I thought was interesting. I feel like that's a move. I feel like it's a league that he's going to maybe fit better in. I don't know. What do you think, Tommy? I mean, you know Aaronson pretty well, I assume. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think he can fit into, like, a lot of these guys can fit into a lot of different systems, a lot of different leagues, and it's just like the way the coach sees it or the team sees it. I mean, he's playing Champions League, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Qualified, and you're playing in top 5 league, so I think he'll fit in quite well. I don't think that's the issue for him. But yeah, I think all these moves, when you like hyperanalyze them as US soccer fans, like you're worried, but there's always risk involved whenever you go to these top teams, just because you're not always going to be the guy. They're going to have other options, and then a lot of these guys just have to perform well. And I think you want that situation for guys that want to get ready for a major tournament in your country. Like, they have to deal with that pressure week in, week out.
That's fair. I think it was Brad Evans the other day that was talking about how Pulisic seems to play better when he is the man. You know, he likes the pressure. He plays better under the pressure of that. You know, he's not going to be that at Milan. You know, they got Leao, they got other guys. So yeah, question mark there. Now, moves that we are still sort of keeping an eye out for. There's going to be quite a few. We got Tyler Adams, Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa. May join, hopefully, Pulisic at AC Milan. Fuller and Balogun is another one that will be really interesting to see what he does. Dest, Trusty, Tillman, maybe Brian Reynolds. So there's a lot of names out there that perhaps could end up going somewhere else this summer. Latest rumor I saw is maybe Xavi's going to give Dest another shot at Barca. So that would be interesting.
I think he's going to. They don't have a right back, so make a lot of sense.
That quote was kind of a slap in the face, and I feel like Serginho is not somebody who's going to take that kindly. He's like, if he comes in 100% focused and is bought in, like it was kind of like, you haven't been, but if you do, maybe we'll play you again.
Yeah, I read it that way too. and his Instagram posts lately have sounded just a little salty. Sounds like he's got a chip on his shoulder, which maybe is good.
I like his bite. I like, I dig him.
Yeah, I'm with it. Okay, we will move on to the next headline. So we were speaking about Timmy Weah heading to Juventus. Speaking about Juventus, so they reportedly, this is not official, but they've reportedly reached an agreement with UEFA over, the financial fair play situation, which cost them 10 points in Serie A last season and knocked them down from Champions League, which is where they would have been playing based on their where they would have finished with those extra 10 points. They got knocked down into Europa Conference League because of that. And so there's now reports that Juventus is settling with UEFA, and they're basically going to withdraw from the Conference League, not play in that tournament. And then they're not going to appeal, it sounds like, whatever UEFA is going to fine them or whatever. They're not going to appeal it to the next CAS or whatever, basically what Man City is doing with their financial fair play situation. So that would be interesting. It feels like a real slap on the wrist, to be honest. I don't know how serious their situation is with financial fair play. But it's clear that Serie A thinks it's kind of serious if they docked him 10 points, and to just sort of give up on Conference League and that's it. I mean, that seems like a pretty cherry deal for Juventus if that ends up being the case. Finally, NBA. So everybody knows about our deep roots with the basketball community. TJ and Larry will be back on the podcast soon. I promise you guys that. But the news out of the NBA universe is that the NBA is essentially, taking soccer's playbook and making it their own. They announced an in-season tournament, very cleverly named the NBA Cup, that they're going to start playing this season. Mikey,
somebody got paid a lot of money to come up with that.
Right? Some marketing firm, just like
same one that did the 2026 World Cup logo.
2026, yep, logo. Got paid $1 million to come up with NBA Cup. They could have handed me $10. And I would have handed it for him in 5 minutes. But Mikey, you're a big NBA guy, so what are your thoughts on this?
I'm curious to see how coaches are going to take it. I think it's going to get 2 or 3 years of people tiptoeing before it matters, and then it'll take a couple finals that feel big for people to start giving a shit in the regular season. But I think in the first couple of years, you're going to see heavy rotation. So don't get too excited. I think once it has its few big moments, coaches will start to take it seriously, but not until then.
Is there anything you could do to incentivize?
A draft pick, probably a 2nd round pick or something like that, would matter. I think maybe even a late round first pick would be very important to teams.
Late 1st round pick, I think, would get some GMs horny. I don't know if a 2nd round pick would.
Yeah. I mean, unless it's Brad. But yeah.
I like that. I like the draft, because I was going to say money is not going to do it.
No. Steve Ballmer is going to pay twice the salary cap and luxury tax issue.
How about this? Ping pong balls.
More
additional. Oh man, the teams would have been balling out in the cup for Wemby this year.
That's a great idea.
Not a lot, but enough. Because then if your name gets pulled and there's another Wemby that comes down the line, then people are going to be like, why the fuck weren't we trying in the NBA Cup in 2026?
I like it. I think you just fixed the NBA Cup. It's not that it's broken, but it wasn't. It
hasn't happened yet. It can't be broken.
Right. But I think we just made it better. So there you go, NBA. You scratch our back, we'll scratch yours. Now, quickly, round the world, where, of course, we start with the Minuteman himself, Mr. Tyler Terrans, taking us around the league quickly, efficiently, and non-sexually. So, Minuteman, what do you got for us on MLS this week?
If it's non-sexual, I'm not going to do it. That's what I'm brought in here for, baby.
It's true.
All right. We're going to start in our nation's capital, DC United and Inter Miami. Miami, of course, are holding their breath, waiting for the arrival of Messi, Busquets, Jordi Alba, and whoever else they're going to sign with a $5.2 million salary cap, but that's for another time. Game was terrible in the first half. I was on the call for it. Second half, absolute explosion. 4 goals in 30 minutes. You had 6 homegrowns on the field at one point in time for Inter Miami with all the injuries and all the shit that they've been dealing with. 2-2 is the final score. Christian Benteke missed an absolute sitter in the final moments of that game that would have given DC a 3-2 win after Inter Miami took not one, but 2 different leads thanks to 2 first MLS goals from 2 different homegrowns in Benjamin Kremoski and Noah Allen. North of the border in Montreal, Atlanta United with a big win on the road against the Montreal team that historically, at least this season, has been very, very good at home. Columbus Crew at home against NYCFC. Those 2 sides have played each other now twice in the past 3.5 weeks. And again, it ends in a 1-1 draw as Columbus actually had a red card late in that game as well. Toronto at home. I mean, it just keeps on getting worse for the Reds. St. Louis with a 1-0 win. Red Bulls and New England. This game was from Harrison, New Jersey. Red Bulls pick up a big win against Bruce Arena's
robbery.
Yep. Settle down, Mikey. Go back to your wedding. Charlotte at home against FC Cincinnati. Most of you are going to be talking about the call, but what I'm going to be talking about is a comeback of epic proportions from Pat Noonan's group, who are down 2-0 thanks to Karol Swiderski's brace. FC Cincinnati, despite going down a man late on, hold on for a 2-2 draw on the road in a hostile Bank of America environment. Houston Dynamo and Sporting Kansas City played to a 2-2 draw. That game was in Texas. Sporting has been playing well as of late. Same goes for the Houston Dynamo. But the Dynamo, of course, are going to be taking on RSL in the Open Cup semifinal in a few weeks' time after Leagues Cup. Chicago at home against Nashville. No Hani Mukhtar in the starting 11. No Jacob Schaffelberg, who is scoring goals against the U.S. men's national team. But that does spell a problem for Gary Smith's group as they fall on the road to Chicago. Nashville has been in a bad way as of late. They were one of the best teams in the league at one point in time. It really no more than 3 weeks ago. But they've been dropping results left and right, as have a lot of teams during the dog days of July and during this Gold Cup break. Fabian Herber's with the goal. He's scored 3 out of the last 4 games. The Fire have 1 and 3 out of the last 4 games. What on earth is going on in Chicago? I'll tell you exactly on next week's pod as I got them at home against Montreal on Wednesday. Minnesota United at home against Josh Wolf and Austin FC. Austin are playing well, man. 4-1 win on the road for the Verdes. I think that's their nickname. I apologize for any Austin FC fans. I'm tired. Real Salt Lake at home against Orlando City. The debut of Chicho Arango, who comes back to Major League Soccer after his stint in Liga MX, and he scores in his debut in Real Salt Lake, pick up a 4-0 win. Colorado Rapids 2-1 over FC Dallas, and a decent crowd on hand for the Rapids, who are the worst team in Major League Soccer, or at least were up until this past weekend. Vancouver Whitecaps at home against their Cascadia rivals in the Seattle Sounders. Leo Chu put on a show in the second half. He ends up getting MLS Player of the Week for match day number 24, and it's a Seattle win on the road. 3-2 is the final score. LA Galaxy 3-1 winners over the Philadelphia Union. Tell you what, good things can happen when Tyler Boyd is scoring and you put on a show in front of 82,000 at the Rose Bowl. They have now won 2 on the trot. LAFC at home against the San Jose Earthquakes. They have been struggling mightily. 1-1 is the final score from BMO Stadium, and that would do it for match day number 24. A whole host of games going on midweek, probably on the morning that you're going to be consuming the Sam's Army podcast 2.20, and that's it.
Well done, sir. Well done as always. Yeah, you're right. We got a full slate, I think, on Wednesday, and then or close to it, and then a full slate this weekend. So
yeah.
MLS is they do not sleep. On Nashville, quickly, they're missing Zimmerman, they're missing Schaffelberg, and Haney.
Zimmerman was because of a Zimmerman was red card suspension.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, they're still missing him. And then Mukhtar, I guess it was just rest. I don't know why he didn't play that. But yeah, I can't believe Chicago came away from a goal or with a win, but I am not complaining about that at all. So we will round out round of world quickly. So US women, they look uninspired, let's say, in their final send-off game for the World Cup 2023. They played Wales. It was 0-0 at half. There was nothing going on in the first half. Trinity Rodman came on, scored 2 goals, and won it. Now, whether that game is sort of a red flag or a harbinger of perhaps disappointment to come, I don't know. I guess we'll see. I think send-offs are always a little complicated because, nobody wants to get hurt and that sort of stuff. But, yeah, we did not look great in that. We'll see. Anyway, Mikey, anything that we ought to know from around the world? I know you got your, finger on the pulse of the third degree, third tier in Uruguay. So
listen, we could talk about all those leagues, but I just want to give a shout out to the England U21 side for winning a pretty difficult tournament. That was actually a lot of fun. That was a good tournament to watch. And just days after everyone was clowning his $19 million shady ass transfer from Manchester City, New Trafford, as I've been calling him, because his name's James Trafford. He's a goalkeeper. Had some heroics with a 92nd minute save to win England a trophy. So I'm just proud of England for finally, it just took Kane getting out of the kit for them to win a national trophy. So
Are we giving them that? Did they win a trophy?
I'm gonna give it to them because Kane wasn't on the side. I think that makes it funnier.
Of course, of course. And lastly, a quick house programming note. FPL is back. So I just, I had to go through and pick an 11 or 15 or how many guys you're supposed to get to the roster or put on the roster in order to get the league back up and running. And I did that. So now everybody can get back in if you're not in. Sam's Army Podcast League on whatever the official FPL app is. So jump on there. I know that Larry will be back on. Mikey and Tommy. Tyler, were you in that? I don't know if you were in it last year.
Yeah, no. I was playing and then I just entered. I love it how you can just like be in a different league and then you just transfer your team into the other one. But
Yep.
I stopped paying attention in like February. So
yeah, I often do that. I'm trying. I made some mental notes. I've left some reminders to myself, like on a weekly basis, to check and to change the team, and I still don't always do it.
Once the MLS season started, you could not ask me to pay that close of attention to another league. It just can't happen.
That's fair. That's your paying job. That's a fair statement. All right, let's put a bow on this episode. Stoppage time. We're going to start with Ivan Toney's best bets, and the overtrain didn't do fantastically well, but also didn't crash into the rocks this week. We had Palmeiras and Flamengo, which ended 1-1. That's not gonna win you money on the overtrain. But I was right about Charlotte and Cincinnati. I was very right about that one. 2-2, easy money, no problem at all. Quick thing on the Palmeiras Flamengo game and the Brazilian Serie A, which Mikey, you could probably chime in on this. I've got no stats to back this up, absolutely none. But in my mind, there is no league where teams are more wasteful in front of goal than Brazil. Like you can have 27 shots for one team, 35 for the other, and it'll end 1-1. And that's not like a weird thing. That's like a normal game for Brazilian league. Is this
Brazil? You're going to create your XG is going to be over 5 every game. Why take chances seriously if you know you're going to create an infinite amount of them?
I guess is that it? Like I don't know if it's their maybe what it is that in Brazilian league they just take terrible shots and they take a million of them. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Mikey, give me some set of.
There's always a red. There's always a red.
Always.
Whether my favorite are the reds that say not on pitch, so it just doesn't matter at all. Those happen quite often. I would say the unders in Brazil are very popular. And the best way to bet is just wait for the game to start. Don't try to know what's going to happen before you go into a game. That's my best advice about South America. Sometimes teams just fucking don't show up. The Gremio Botafogo game yesterday with Suarez came in and shot 9 times and didn't score a goal. And I was just like, this is stupid. It doesn't make any sense. So yeah, whatever you think you don't about Brazil.
Keep in mind, Mikey is Mr. Live Bullets action. So
can I ask, do you think that in an alternative universe in Sao Paulo and their version of Sam's Army, they're saying the same thing about MLS? It's like don't bother going into an MLS game thinking that you know what's going to happen.
Probably. I think that's fair. I think that's parallel.
And they're like, Shaqiri came onto the field and gave the ball away 17 times. Like, it doesn't make sense.
I think that's fair. That's absolutely. I don't know if we got the same number of shot production, as the Brazilian league, but yeah, it's just as unpredictable. I think I'll give you that. But the other thing about the Brazilian league is that and again, zero stats to back this up, no evidence whatsoever. But I feel like the shot taking in Brazil and the shot taking in Argentina, which is a league where if you're trying to bet overs in Argentina, God bless you. I don't know how you do it. It would not work for me. Those games end 1-0, 1-1 almost every single time. But what is it about? Is there some psychological difference between the Brazilians and Argentinians or the people playing in the Brazilian league and the Argentina league that explain this?
Honestly, no. It's got to just be like the quality of defending.
Okay, all right. We'll ascribe that. I got no better explanation, so we'll go with it. Okay, now so that was last week's Ivan Toney's best bets. Now let's go to this week's Ivan Toney's best bets. I got two games lined up here, but I'll give you guys a chance first. Anybody want to volunteer, or should I lead us off?
Go ahead.
Okay, Tyler, go for it.
No, you go.
Okay. All right. So I got two games. Mexico, by the way, is back. I love Liga MX. It is great for overbetters. And America hosting Puebla there will be goals galore in that game, and both teams to score and over 2.5 is an absolute lock. They're in a responsible way. They're handing you money and saying, here you go. Here's some money for you.
Mikey, you think what I'm thinking?
Yeah, fading the hell out of
that. Listen, if you don't like money, that's you. I'm gonna go Puebla, America, over 2.5, both teams to score. You can parlay those for -117. Second game, we're going to South Korea. Another game, another league where there is a lot of goals, although it's a little more unpredictable. Sometimes there's 6, sometimes it's 0-0, and I can't quite put my finger on it. It's also not a great league if you're a live bullets guy, kind of like Mikey, because the games, they start at like 4 a.m. But it's great though if you are either a early morning person, which I'm not, or you like to wake up and look at your phone and find a nice little surprise, which I am that type of person. So I'm going to go Incheon United hosting Daejeon Citizen. Both teams to score. Both teams to score.
That's
crazy.
Daejeon Citizen is the name of an NBA 2K generated draft player in the year 2031.
That's the craziest bet you've ever made on here. That's blast. That's
Daejeon Citizen.
That's not true. I gave a J2 game, a Japanese league, second Japanese league over out a couple weeks ago, and it was right, by the way. A little tap of the back there. So both these games, America hosting Puebla, Incheon United hosting Daejeon Citizen. I got both teams to score in both of them, and I'm leaving the over off the table on Incheon and Daejeon. I think it'll happen, but I'm not going to get too crazy with this. I'm going over and both teams to score with America and Puebla. I'm going both teams to score in the South Korean game, and so the South Korean game will get you -138. America and Puebla with both teams to score and over will give you -117. And if you're feeling a little frisky and feeling like you want a little extra to take the lady out for a nice steak dinner, well, then you can parlay all three of those bets together and get it +220 and thank me later. Okay, there we go. Mikey, I feel good now that I got that off my chest. Help my internet friends retire early. Who you got for us, Mikey?
I'm looking at the Brazil Cup quarterfinal on Wednesday, and why not?
You're a man.
Gremio is going to advance, and the real money value here is Atletico Paranaense is going to advance against Flamengo. They're down 2-1 going into the second leg, the 8:30 kickoff in that game. Atletico to advance. I'll tell you what the odds are right now if you hang on one slight second. Brazil Cups.
I was looking at that game because the Brazil game's got goals written all over it. However you pronounce it, Paranaense. They are one of the few Brazilian teams that I actually like to bet on because
watch that game, and I think Paranaense advances, and there's in the over.
Okay, little
Gremio's going to be like -400. Yeah, one.
Little upset action. I like it. All right, Tyler. Time to give us one of those copyright or whatever.
Yep.
+700.
Yeah. Let me talk dirty to the people real quick.
Can't win parlays.
All right. I got a draw between Cincinnati and Red Bulls. I got a draw between the Fire and Montreal. And I've got and Houston winning at home against Minnesota.
Go.
And that'll give you decent odds of about +2,300.
One of these,
it's worth it. It's worth it.
You want to take your woman to Prague.
It's worth it. Yeah, and then think about how much of a baller you would be while you're in Prague, and then you can bet on the Prague second, and you can bet on the Czech Republic second division.
Ooh, I like that. I like that.
You make me seem how do I say this?
A degenerate, far more of a
No,
degenerate than you are?
You guys are such degenerates for the leagues that you're betting on. You make me seem like some sort of like square for betting for having my Ivan Toney best bet be about Major League Soccer, the first division in this country. Like I don't like this segment anymore because like I don't feel like I'm clever enough to be here because Sam's betting on the Korean league and like actually knows a thing or two about it.
Yeah, that's weird though. His thing with that is weird.
Oh, and your thing with
Brazil's like watching like fucking Three Stooges, guys tripping over each other left and right and fighting. It's awesome.
It is entertaining.
It's like watching WWE.
A lot of red cards in both Argentina, actually just all the South American leagues. The red card, again, no stats, no evidence to back this up, but there's way more red cards in those games. If you like to bet those bets, which Mikey definitely does. All right, well done, boys. One of the law of large numbers, Tyler, you're gonna hit one of these. I just feel it. Maybe this.
I've hit a couple already. Stop acting like this hasn't happened yet.
Okay, all right.
Don't be a dick, Sam.
Sorry.
God, it's like you don't remember the other 101 of these that I've played.
All right, my bad.
By the way, I have never placed any of these, especially with regard. I have never placed any MLS ones. I don't place MLS ones. I want that very, very clear.
We knew
That's
that.
facts.
We all knew that.
Yeah.
You're just trying to help the people out, and that's there's nothing illegal or ill about that. And let's go to GOAWs time. I got a whole list ready to go, so I'm gonna let you guys go first if you got some, because I don't want to take yours.
I'll take mine first and just get it off. It's a quick one. It's an easy one this week. It's Sandro Tonali. I can't get enough of his content of how much he fucking hates Newcastle. As someone who did go there and did sleep in one of the dingiest places in that city, it is not like the minute you get there, you go, there's going to be stars here soon. Like they are going to fucking hate it here. I was just picturing Mbappe walking the gravel streets and eating meat pies. Like Tonali took one look at that place and was like, God damn it, they're paying me how much to be here? And you heard the quote specifically. The reason he's the Goa is because his wife said, wow, the gym is so nice here. It's not like AC Milan's. And he just replied deadpan with the cameras on him. Milan's was better. And just kept walking around, doesn't smile in his pictures. The guy is miserable. I want more of that content. That's going to be my thing to watch is in the next 2 years. It's like how many guys that buy into the Newcastle project from overseas are just like, this place stinks. So before Qatar or whoever builds a new city for them, this is going to be a fun period to watch these guys.
What is so Newcastle is essentially Scotland, right? It's like
it's bleak, it's gray, it's like it's small, old. It's all great. I mean, a great place to live if you're you or me, but there's no high rise. There's nowhere that would be considered luxurious by any means.
Why is it a great place for you or Sam to live, Mikey?
Because it's like a fun pub town, like it's a good time. Not saying it's an awful time, but there's nothing luxurious about it.
I can't imagine that Newcastle. I've never been to Newcastle. I can't imagine Newcastle is much different than Glasgow. And I love
Glasgow.
It's
up there. It's
up there. It's south of the wall by about a mile.
it's very far.
It's up there. And I'm sure the weather pattern's the exact same. Although strangely enough, the Newcastle accent is so incredibly different than any of the other ones around there, including.
It's going to be interesting to watch the Tonali stuff, though. Keep an eye on it. It's very fun.
Fair enough. Good shout, Tyler. Who you got for us?
I don't know if we covered this. Maybe I missed this podcast, but the changing of the guard at Sky Sports, Peter Drury for Martin Tyler. Number one, Martin Tyler, incredible career. And not for nothing, I know people are going to give him a lot of crap for maybe not being the most exciting commentator for the past however many years, 10, 15, and even before that. And we can all just admit it because we're adults. Like, he clearly loves Manchester United and hates Liverpool. Like, there's not many commentators I'll say that. There's not many commentators I'll say that about.
Oh, yes.
But there's an account. Oh God, I forget what it's called. There's an account on social media, and this guy he mouths Martin Tyler's commentary and sort of like pretends what it would look like in the booth if Martin Tyler was calling a Liverpool goal. And it is so perfect because his reaction to United goals comparatively to Liverpool are so it's so different. The octave in his voice is just outrageous. But anyway, here I am like bashing my own goat who I want to like give praise to. He's the greatest to ever do it. He is the Marv Albert of British soccer commentary. And Peter Drury, for him to take over. So the Peter Drury thing, like everybody raves about how poetic he is. And yes, like it's amazing. And as a commentator, like he's somebody that I genuinely look up to. It's not my style, but it is a style. But for him to do it his way, and he writes a lot of stuff down, and like it's a lot of it is not scripted, but he really thinks about it. It's not as organic or as like flying by the seat of your pants as other commentators. For him to be the lead voice for the American package, which pays much more money and theoretically is much more of like it's just a bigger job, and British commentators know that because of the reach and how many people and whatever. But then to also get picked up by Sky Sports, he's going to do both of those jobs and doing it strictly the Peter Drury way. I think that that's the coolest fucking thing as a commentator, because he decided to do something that like nobody else has really done before and speak in that sort of way. And he caters to so many different countries and languages. And in Champions League, he's talking in different languages. I'm geeking out right now a little bit, but I think it like for Martin Tyler to step aside and finish up his career, and then for the mantle to be taken over by Peter Drury, I think is like it's perfect. And both of them are legends. And yeah, very cool.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I did mention this on a previous podcast really quickly. You weren't on it. You did it more, better justice or whatever, because, you're a better speaker than me and it's your thing. But also the one thing you didn't mention, which I did mention when I talked about it, was that this opens up perhaps another slot for commentators, which I think it's about time we got an American play-by-play voice in there, and perhaps Tyler Terrence will be on that list. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing it out there. People, hopefully it happens.
No, Peter Drury's staying on.
I know, but he can't.
He can do Saturday. No, he can do Saturday games. He can do Saturday or Sunday games with NBC, and then he can do Monday, and then he does Monday Night Football with Sky.
So he's not going to do any less games for the US package?
Maybe a few, maybe. I don't know. I don't know the exact details.
There we go. Get Tyler Terrence's.
I told you I don't know if I've told you this before, but my pipe dream getting into this business, the unattainable, to catch the butterfly, like, keep me working as hard as I possibly can until my last dying breath, is to be the first. I don't know if I'd be the first, but to be an American who's trusted with a Premier League package. Yeah, that is the pipe dream.
Keep working. I believe in you. All right, go. It's time for me. I got a whole list here. Number 1, Neil Collins, the coach of Tampa Bay Rowdies, who just took a job in England with Barnsley. I mean, he's been the coach. He was a player with the Rowdies for several years. Then he became the coach. He's been there for 3 years, I think, as coach. And like, they are, with Lou City, they're basically a dynasty. Like, Tampa Bay is always good. And so obviously it's a testament to his coaching, obviously front office as well. But, credit to him. And I'm sure he's going to do well over in England. And congrats to him on the move. Also, Matt Turner, we don't even need to explain why. He's been not single-handedly, but listen, he played great, and he did what he does in the shootout. And that's just be a big, strong man. Also, another Sam Fam member, for honorable mention, Katie Stengel, who basically said, you know what, thanks, but no thanks on the summer break. I'm just going to go play for the Gotham FC in NWSL, when she could have been, lounging, luxuriating on the beach with, all her GKU teammates. Nope. She's going to go score a bunch of goals for Gotham FC and then go right back to Liverpool in the fall. So shout out to Katie, and she scored. First game or debut, she scored a goal, of course. Then this is the last honorable mention, and one that was gonna come up at some point. You mentioned octaves and Martin Tyler's calls. Well, here is the call of, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Will Palashuk. That close? I don't know. Will Palashuk. He's the radio guy for Charlotte FC. And here was his call.
Side, stepping over, sending it back for Lindsay. Lindsay sends it back into the area for Swiderski. One touch, he scores! That one was more impressive than the first.
Okay, so this was a very interesting call. Will got lit up on social media. Basically, everybody calling him Mickey Mouse and whatever else. I'm just gonna give him Goa. I don't know what if this is like a great call, if this is a sort of a cringe call. Like I don't really know. In this day and age, it seems like to have some sort of call that goes viral can't be a bad thing. In this day and age, it just can't be a bad thing. Maybe Tyler would disagree with me on that, but I don't know what to say about this call. It was unique and I loved it. I listened to it and watched it, 5 to 10 different times. I don't understand how he did that with his voice, but shout out to Will. Like you got you got range on your vocal cords that I could only dream of, and you got your viral moment, and hopefully you leverage that into whatever you want to do in life. But yeah, shout out to Will Palashuk. And then finally, my actual Goa of the week is to actually my buddy Juan, or Johnny, as he's more popularly known. He lives out in Colorado, and he sent me a Malort shot. It was supposed to be a Malort shot for the game-winning goal that Vasquez scored against, in the 88th minute against Canada. It took a little while for the text message to get to, Chicago, and to get the bar, waitresses to bring the shot out and everything like that. It showed up the moment, literally the second that Canada scored that goal in the 109th minute. And it looked like, oh my God, we're gonna fucking lose to Canada. Like this is really happening. The Malort shot at the exact same moment as that goal went in. That Malort shot was placed right in front of me. If anybody has taken Malort, you know that you don't normally do it willingly. But I realized that we needed something. We needed a rally shot. We needed to change the momentum. Bam, hit the shot, and 4 minutes later, or whatever, we got that own goal and then go to penalties. And we knew what was going to happen in penalties with Matt Turner in net. So shout out to Johnny for the game-changing shot. Shout out Malort for whatever the hell nastiness they put in there, because it changed the vibes. It changed my night. it was my birthday. It was my birthday. I'll say that. And so like the US like losing
Happy
that
birthday.
game. Thank you. The US losing that game would have put a real damper on my mood. So the Malort shot and Johnny basically, made my night. Unfortunately, they helped ruin my morning, of course, but it was worth it. And I think I'll have to think about this, because you never want to take too much Malort, but I think I'm gonna have to make Malort shots, the official sort of game changer rally, inflection point shot of Sam's Army, because just the timing of it all and how it worked out was just too perfect. So shout out to Johnny, shout out to Malort, and shout out to you guys, Tyler.
Sam, if I
Mikey.
could say one thing quickly.
Yeah.
Arsenal supporters group, we had a loss this week. A good guy, Tom, our godfather. First guy you walk into, you have to shake his hand before you take a seat. Doesn't have a cell phone. If matches were canceled or postponed, we'd all race to find his home phone number and get in touch with him. Always the first guy there. Definitely got too drunk 1 or 2 times and had a good time with Tom. But rest in peace, and love you.
Nice. Well
A lot
said.
of guys listen to this.
Well said. And yeah, we need guys like that. We need more guys like that in the world. So shout out to him, and rest in peace. Condolences to his family and friends, and you too, Mikey. But thank you, Mikey. Thank you, Tyler. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, everybody who was listening. We'll be back next week. Miss you guys already.